Welcome to the Unsecurity podcast. Each week, Evan and Brad give an inside look at current information security news, breaches, best practices, and other things you should know to improve your information security. Here are your hosts, FRSecure's Evan Francen and Brad Nigh.
Hi, Evan. We're back for the second Unsecurity podcast.
Two in a row.
Two in a row. Next week's going to be interesting because of the holiday. I know I'm going to be driving, so hopefully we'll be back in time. But
yeah, I sort of like recording these on Sundays because Sunday afternoon, I watch a little football and then, it's kind of chill.
Yeah, it's a nice way to kind of wrap up the week.
Yeah,
and also get you back into the mindset for work tomorrow.
What's to come? But tomorrow's going to be a fun day at FRSecure anyway.
It is. I'm excited.
I think we're have our kind of team dinner. I have early in the morning. I got to be down somewhere. I can't remember where, but Southern Minnesota for a CEO group.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's just a whiteboard talk. So I have no slides. I'm just going to get up in front and we're just going to talk some basic security stuff that all of them should know, I guess.
So I'll be honest. That to me is more fun than going through the slides, just getting up there and talking. Because then I don't have to put slides together too.
I know, putting slides together is such a pain.
It is. I was telling Jess in marketing, it's like, I hate doing it. I can do, for lack of a better phrase, I can do the word vomit of what I want to talk about and it comes out well, but putting them onto slides and writing is just not fun.
No. Well, and so I agree completely. And so I told Jess, why don't you just create every talk I give, you just create the slides for me.
Yeah. I like that approach.
Well, I know, man, but that's I learned now that's a lot harder.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, because I'm talking with somebody else's flow. I'm not talking with how I would normally talk.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So the first one I did was at a conference up in Bismarck. And it was, the art and science of threat management.
Okay.
Right. And so you can imagine what I would write if I was going to write my own slides for that. And then imagine what I'm marketing.
Yeah. Yeah. They're going to put that marketing spin on it. And then, yeah, it's true.
I mean, there were probably 500-600 people in that room. And yeah, I even practiced going through her slides. I'm like, okay, this is how I would say it. I tried to figure out what my flow would be. And then when I got up there, I was just, nope. I'm just going to have to suck it up and write my own slides next time.
That's tough. I don't know. Maybe I'll give her a chance and see. We'll see.
Yeah.
I hate writing slides that much. We'll see what happens.
Well, and we do the same thing when we do the mentor program.
Yeah.
There's like every class, there's 100 slides or so?
Yeah. It's something like that.
Yeah. And so, that's the biggest drag about doing a mentor program is going through those slides. Maybe
what we'd do, we're totally going into the weeds, but that's fine. I'm going to have her do the first pass and then make edits after she's done the hard part of creating them. Because tweaking, it's easy afterwards.
Right. Well, this is sort of what our podcast is anyway, even though we're in the weeds a little bit. I mean, we sort of intended, the first part of our podcast to be just kind of what we're working on, what things we're sort of struggling with. And then I suppose we'll get into the recent news. So for the people listening, every week we trade off leading this thing, right? Last week was me. So if you didn't like the podcast last week, I'm your guy. And this week it's yours, and then next week it'll be mine. And I think this is going to get competitive because, like I was saying to you in the office earlier this week, pretty soon we're going to start getting guests to join us on the show.
Right.
And then it's going to be like, well, who gets the better guest and whatever.
Which episode gets the highest rating? And neither of us is competitive at all, so this won't escalate.
Speaking of competitive, you're the big Caps fan.
Yep.
and you guys beat the crap out of my wild earlier this week.
I told Tyler I didn't get to go to the game this year. I went to the first two when they came up the last 2 years I was here, and just didn't work out this year. And I was like, well, I wanted to give the Wild a chance this time. I'm not going to go. Didn't matter. 3-0 since I moved up here. I'm okay with that.
I know. We can't seem to figure that puzzle out at all.
Bragging rights.
Mm-hmm.
So I was looking through this, and what we've been working on this week, and one of the things that I really was surprised about was some differences in how, given all these incident responses we've had, and what the reactions and how companies react and respond after the incident is contained and cleaned up. So I started looking and went back and just did some digging and some research. And what it looks like to me is there are two ways that a company goes about this. Either it's, I don't care what it costs, give me whatever I need and tell me what else I'm missing. How do I fix it? Or, yeah, it wasn't too bad and that won't happen to us again. We're good. And there doesn't seem to be much of a middle ground. That's just some high level observation. But to me, that second approach it really seems kind of head in the sand.
Interesting.
And it surprised me.
Yeah, it would surprise me too, because I always thought that there's three primary reasons why people invest in information security. One is you have to. So compliance is still the number one driver in security spending. And then the second reason was something bad happened.
Right.
And what I used to see, and I don't know if you're thinking that this has changed, because maybe it has, but what I used to see is you were underspending for years on information security, then something bad happens, and now the pendulum swung the other way. Now you're overspending. I mean, you're like, dump all the money in the world. Then,
a little bit of that. I think that's kind of that first approach of just like, hey, okay, what else do I not know? Tell me, it maybe not. Well, obviously I haven't seen from the organizational side if they've spent others. I'm just looking at that
what you're
saying.
Yeah,
our side of it. But yeah, I think that kind of more plays into that first of just give me everything. What do I know? What don't I know?
Right.
What should I be doing?
And so if you have the wrong partner with that sort of mentality, you're going to get screwed too. Right.
Oh, you need all this software and new hardware.
Oh, okay. And then, Well, and the one incident response that we just finished up was the ransomware outbreak. And I think the total bill probably for that response is probably close to $200,000.
Yeah, it's not cheap.
No.
And that doesn't even include lost productivity and downtime. And how much do they pay employees for the time that they weren't productive?
Right. And the soft dollars are going to get up there. But the good thing is, I think they're very open to, okay, we need to make sure this doesn't happen again. And so I know that there's a couple of projects, on their plate to really help them shore things up. So hopefully they've learned their lesson, and this doesn't, and maybe they build a really good security program after this.
Well, and I think that they're a good example of what we see a lot of too, of it takes an occurrence like that for it to be given priority and to be taken seriously.
Right.
Now, hopefully they do it and do it right, and they don't have any problems moving forward.
Let's hope so.
So anyway, I was just surprised that seems to be the two responses to an incident that I've seen or that I saw out there. So
I agree.
So, one of the next ones we're talking about is what are we excited about? And it's kind of, this is very nerdy of me, but I'm really excited for this. it's from an internal perspective for, kind of for FRSecure and Security Studio, but this virtual vendor risk management
Oh yeah.
product that we're putting together, because this is really the first that, I've had a lot to say about the vCISO piece, but that started before I really took over. This is the first one where I've been involved and really had the chance to define and build from the ground up.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of exciting and fun to work with the team and, do what I think is right and then learn from them as well and put something together and put that framework out there that gives us that standard approach that we can give, that good response for anyone who does it. So.
Yeah, I agree. I'm really pumped about it too, because every time you guys create something, in my mind, it's just cool, right? I mean, you guys are always creating kind of cool things, and this VVRM, which is what we're calling it, is it virtual vendor risk management?
Yep.
Okay. That to me is pretty cool, because it, according to some of the stats that we've read, 63% of all breaches come directly or indirectly through vendors.
Right.
And I was just I was in Des Moines last week talking to a group of hospitals. And I asked them, by a show of hands, how many of you, there's 15 hospitals, how many of you are doing vendor risk management at all? And 2 of them raised their hand. One of them, I think, is a larger hospital organization. They've been doing it manually for quite a while, so painful. And the other one is just getting started. They're very new to the whole thing. So I think and the way you guys are developing that service, to me, is like, man, you're going to solve the pain. You're going to make it standardized. You're going to make it not overly burdensome for the organization, but
right.
I can just imagine if I was a CISO back in those days, if I was a CISO and had a company that was just going to handle all of this for me, awesome, love it.
Yeah.
And I'd pay a pretty good penny for it, because I think the most, depending on the size of my organization, if I want, let's say I have 100 vendors or maybe 200 vendors, that's a full-time employee.
Right.
Minimum. That's if I do it well, manually.
Right. Right. And it's a lot of interpretation. And are you hiring somebody that, and how are you going to, it's the same thing with a CISO. How are you going to hire somebody that has the experience and knowledge, and are they going to want to do that? And can you keep them? So, I think the fun part for me was, kind of hearing them go, well, yep, and them being Security Studio, click through it and then you can just accept the risk. I'm like, no, I'm not accepting the risk for an organization. I'll make that recommendation, but if I were an organization, I don't want someone else accepting risk for me. Right?
Exactly.
We'll give you all the recommendations, and you just click a button and say, yep, okay, sounds good, or you can overrule it. But ultimately, you got to keep it as it's your job, it's your company. So,
right. And so you take those 13 other hospitals, they're all living in risk ignorance.
Right.
And risk ignorance is the same as risk acceptance, right? Essentially, it's just worse.
Well, and you're seeing it especially from healthcare, where the fines are no longer, well, I didn't know was acceptable. That doesn't happen anymore.
No, when the OCR comes
right.
knocking.
Well, I didn't know my vendor had no password policy and didn't do background checks. Oh, well, that's too bad for you, isn't it?
Right.
Anyway.
So you're geeked out about that. That's cool. I don't think that's too geeky. I think
it's fun. It's fun building stuff.
Security guys like us get excited about that stuff.
All right. How about you? Anything you're excited about?
Well, we had an offsite on Friday with our management team. That's always fun, because you just get kind of honest with each other. We're right in the middle of 2019 planning. I love what they're doing. I mean, if you have a management team like we do, I mean,
Yeah.
my life is grand, man. It's just a good thing.
I won't lie though, as part of that, that next level down of management, it's not as much fun when the entire senior management or executive management's offsite, because then everybody comes to you.
Oh, that's true. Totally true.
It's like, wait, why am I so big? Oh, that's why I don't see them here. That's why everyone's stopping in.
Yeah, but I'm excited about that. I think I'm really excited about 2019. I think there's some really cool plans there.
Good.
I'm excited. The book is
Oh yeah.
just so close, man. And I'm just every time, every little bit. So now the time is already, or it's already scheduled at the printer, so that they hold that time for you.
Uh-huh.
The last, you go through edit after edit, and then this last edit is the proofreader. So you go through, kind of accept the proofreader, their things, and so we're like so close to being done and ready for, it's being typeset now.
Wow.
Yeah, so we're gonna get 5,000 copies in that first print run, which is sort of cool. So I'm excited about that.
That'd be good. I'm looking forward to seeing that printed. Know how much work you put into it.
Oh my God! Someday you're gonna have to write a book.
I know. Well, I keep telling you, I'm writing a picture book for kids because I've learned.
It's such a good experience,
No.
man.
Yeah.
I've learned so much about what I'm capable of and what my boundaries are, and it's just a great experience. If any of the listeners get a chance to write a book, you've been thinking about writing a book, I highly encourage it. Who cares if nobody reads it? Just go through the exercise. It's so rewarding.
Yeah, I think it's been fun watching you, because it is, you've kind of got the security thing down, and this is something that really challenged you, and it was fun to watch you work through that a little bit. I'll say it was fun to watch you struggle with it.
Well, I appreciate it, but I really am looking forward to anybody else at FRSecure, or any of my friends, anybody who wants to go through this. I'm hoping that there's one thing that you write the book and you did it great, but if it inspires anybody else to do the same thing, or that's the stuff I'm really looking forward to, because I'm really trying to mentor and create our next our next crop of information security leaders, starting with you. And so I'm hoping it becomes like bigger than that, but we'll see.
Well, yeah, I think
no pressure.
Yeah, right. just live up to that.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to write one that sells faster than yours.
Right. Well,
competitive.
Well, so I was trying to figure that out too. I was like, well, what are the expectations? What should a new author expect in their book? And I read online, it's like, you should be happy if you sell 500 copies.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, I'll be happy if I sell 500 copies then.
I would, yeah. I'd be ecstatic if anyone outside of my immediate family and coworkers bought a copy.
See, that's good expectations. I was thinking, I told the management team on Friday, I think I did, whatever your expectations of me are, lower them so I can get over that bar.
Right. Just always set low. Start low. Don't set the bar too high.
Right. That's good stuff, man. I'm excited about that stuff.
Yeah, man. Someday I will.
Well, and if it's not in your cards, there's nothing wrong with that. Either. But if you do want to go down that route, man, I'd love to help. I think
I would be the same boat you're in, right? Where it's okay. I need that. I'm ready for that next challenge. What is that something that I really haven't done? And I don't think I'm quite to that point yet. Still working on a lot of, growth and stuff within FRSecure. But
dude, I'm so pumped about what you're doing with your team. I mean, holy crap, you got a bunch of like the best.
I was telling someone, I don't remember who it was, but I was like, man, it's so great that the people we have, because they make my job so easy. I don't have to worry about them. They just do the right thing, and if there is a problem, they come to me. And there's no micromanaging. I don't have to worry about if they're doing their job right or not. They've proven themselves. It makes it so easy.
Right. And they have a great attitude. They're doing it the right way. They're, like we've talked about before, they've exceeded their numbers, their
Yep.
expectations for the year. I mean, just, A+.
Makes it a lot easier for sure.
Mm-hmm. Which is good, because that's something truly that I don't think I was ever capable of doing for whatever reason. I mean, I think because it's like your kids, right? I mean, it's not like you're my kid, but it sort of is. But like my kids, when I raised my children, I wanted them to be better than me.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want to put pressure on them. I didn't want to but I just wanted them to be better people than I was.
Right.
And so I look at them now, and I've got, there's only one left in the house, but the other four at their stage of life are all tons better than I was at that stage of life. I'm just so proud of them. And that's kind of the same thing I'm seeing with you and your team. It's like, you guys are all better than I was then.
Oh.
And it's so cool to see it happen, because if you're better than I was then how much better are you going to be than I am now?
Yeah. I think that's funny. I think we have a very similar approach to that. It's like, hey, I'm going to give you the opportunity to, prove yourself and go and do it, and, prove me wrong. But they don't. They just keep it, just beating every expectation you could possibly imagine.
Yeah, so, it's pretty much one of the coolest things ever.
It's fun.
Yeah.
All right. Should we talk about some news?
Sure. Let's talk about some security stuff.
So I think the first story I sent this over was from Krebs Unsecurity. It was the Secret Service warning about ID thieves abusing the Postal Service's mail scanning service for that informed delivery. And it was interesting that the post office doesn't require any sort of verification. It just is the address that you sign up for, and then there's sending pictures of the scanned mail to whoever signed up. And ID thieves are using it for credit cards. So what they found is, people are getting bills for thousands of dollars for credit cards they never even knew about.
Oh God.
And so what the Postal Service did was they started alerting households by mail whenever anyone signed up to receive the scan notification of mail delivered to the address. So they would email or send a mail saying, hey, you've been signed up. So what the ID thieves did was they turned around and got the credit cards and waited till they were about to be shipped, and then signed up for the informed delivery. And so they were being delivered, the credit cards were being delivered and stolen before the informed delivery and notification was being sent.
Jeez.
So they're just, it's the same, it's, whack-a-mole. They're always just a game ahead or a step ahead.
Right. Well, it's funny when you sent me this, or when, because we do exchange this email just on things that we might talk about, during the podcast. And so you chose the news stories for this week. And then, so I hadn't even heard of informed delivery before you sent me the lowdown for, today. I was like, informed delivery, what the hell is that? So I do the research, what you sent, and and Krebs Online. And this is actually a story from October of, I don't know, like a while ago. And so I was like, there's no way this thing is actually true. So, because I never even heard of it. And they said, according to the USPS, 6.3 million accounts have been created. Then that was back then. So I went online, and, it's informeddelivery.usps.com. I'm like, I wonder if I should sign up for this thing. I didn't, because I'm kind of fine with the way the mail is delivered today.
Yeah.
And I don't really trust the post office to do anything more than that.
I'm just not sure. I guess they're trying to give you the ability to track your bills better. I don't. That's the thing. I guess I don't know. I'm not sure what the benefit is, but yeah, it started last October was the informed delivery. They said I think they're saying 20,000 accounts a day signing up for it.
Wow.
And yeah, like earlier in September, they had 7 people were arrested for buying using those credit card accounts to buy gift cards and merchandise around $400,000.
When was
So I
this?
mean, this was in September of this year.
Oh, okay. So
There was the mail theft for using this informed delivery, and they bought credit or gift cards and merchandise just about $400,000 worth.
Now, do you do informed delivery?
I don't.
Do you know anybody who does it?
I don't actually. I didn't ask, but I've not heard nobody's talked to me about it or asked about it, so it doesn't.
I've never done it either.
That popular?
I'm debating whether or not I want to do it. Let's see if it's available in my area.
Well, the other thing is that they use the knowledge-based authentication to authenticate when you sign up, and most of that is, it's readily available out there on the internet. Whether it's,
right. That's like the famous Hillary Clinton. No. Who the hell was it? Not Hillary Clinton. Who was the former Alaska governor, Palin?
Oh, right.
Didn't her Yahoo account get compromised years ago from somebody guessing her password recovery questions? Is that what you're talking about? That kind of thing?
Yeah, exactly. Right. It's
like what high school did you go to, and what was your address as a child or whatever? And it's like, well, somebody with some OSINT can figure that out.
Yep. Yeah, it was like there's 4 knowledge-based authentication questions. So you'd have to sign up. I don't know what they are off the top of my head, but the article says that they're mostly available on sites like Spokeo or Zillow or via social networking profiles. So I'd assume it'd be exactly that, when did you buy the house, or when did you move in, or something like that. Or
well, good news, Brad. It's available in my zip code. While we're talking, should I sign up for it? Why not? I'm doing it. I'm not waiting for your answer.
I'd go for it.
Yeah. So
all right.
You keep talking about security stuff, and I'm going to sign up for this thing.
You can sign up for that. So the next article or news story I was going to talk about was the Google's G Suite search and analytics being taken down by a hijacking. And this was going back to last week when we were talking about a little bit of the sensationalism on the article. Yeah, it was definitely a downtime, but it turns out, from what I've seen, and it's interesting looking at the articles and who writes it and how it comes across. It was basically a BGP miscommunication.
All right, BGP.
It was a Nigerian ISP had made a routing mistake, and it was accepted by a Chinese ISP, and then it just propagated from there.
74 minutes? Is that how long it was?
74 minutes.
That's how long that Google's traffic was routed to somewhere else.
Yep. Offline between 1 p.m. and 2:23 p.m. Pacific time in the western half of the U.S. So
yeah, and Google has Cloudflare, right? Don't they use Cloudflare? I saw something about Cloudflare in that news.
I think I saw that. But, what's interesting is, so I read on both Threat Post and then on Sophos's Naked Security. The question is, was this malicious or
Naked
not?
Security?
Yeah, that's a great name for there.
Having trouble getting past that. I'm sorry.
I know.
Hey, I'm at my security question. Sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, yeah.
Which question should I choose first? The city where you were born. That would be hard to figure out, right? It's Philadelphia. Oh, I just told you. Crap. Can't choose that one. What is the name of your pet? What is your favorite food to eat? Anybody who knows me knows all these things.
See, here's where
Mother's maiden name. That's a classic. I'm going to choose that one.
That's a good one. So what I do is, use a password manager, and I make a note for the site, and I put the question in, and then I make up just a totally, it doesn't fit. So
Oh
like
yeah.
the security questions, I've done that where I'm frustrated with the company, so I put in, like, when you have to put in your online PIN, that you give them your voice PIN. It's maybe not always super politically correct, but like, you know, who company service is the worst is my PIN, voice PIN or something,
When have we ever been politically correct?
right? I've done some that are definitely not. I didn't know I would have to say it back, but it was fun. It was very interesting to listen to the person be very awkward about listening to me say that the company can do things to themselves.
We can suck it. All right. So I chose my questions. So you one of your tips is when you choose your security questions to choose a bogus answer. So if somebody did find out, did some open source intelligence on you,
Yep.
it wouldn't matter, right? Because
Right.
that wouldn't be the information anyway.
Now, if my password manager gets compromised, I'm totally out of luck. But I've got multi-factor and hopefully a secure password.
Well, I just signed up, completed the sign up process. You've created an informed delivery account with the username. Should I tell you? Yeah, because I'm going to cancel it anyway. Francen.
There you go.
Because I'm not actually going to. I already did it, but I'm just going to cancel the dang account.
There you go.
Because like I said, I don't.
Pretty standard.
Mail delivery, the way it works is fine anyway.
Right.
Sort of. I don't care. All right. Anyway, sorry I interrupted you.
Nope, you're good. Anyway, so back to BGP. So the Sophos page I thought had a really good analogy that I think not everyone understands BGP well, and how this attack worked, or how this misconfiguration caused the problem. Mm-hmm. So it intermittently diverted traffic to China instead of going to Google. So their example is to envision it, BGP blunders in driving terms. Imagine you're cruising on the freeway, but receive the satellite alert that the road ahead is closed just after the next exit due to an accident. So you take that next exit to get off the freeway, only to find out that the bulletin was wrong. It's the next on-ramp that's closed, not the freeway itself. So in other words, you've needlessly left the fast-flowing freeway, you can't make it back on again without diverting through a nearby town. And everybody else who heard the bulletin did the very same thing, making a bad situation worse and clogging up the town center. So I thought that was a pretty good analogy to.
That's a great analogy.
Right? So
have you ever had the pleasure of working with BGP?
No, I luckily, I guess, got out of networking fairly early. Mm-hmm. I did a lot of like the CCNA, was it CCNA MP 1 and 2?
Okay. Way
back in the day. And then started working at places that had a dedicated network admin. So I know enough about networking that it could be dangerous, but I never really got too deep into the weeds. It's been a long time.
My first ever foray into PGP was back at Jazz Software in 90, I don't know, late 90s probably. We had an old Cisco 7206 router, and I don't know how long it's been now since. Well, actually, we had a pair of them. And we were trying to figure out. So one of the reasons why we would use BGP back then was to have redundancy in, getting to us basically. So we accepted back in that day. We couldn't accept the full BGP table, routing table. You only had two options. It was either accept the full table or accept a partial table. Well, the partial table was 128 megabytes back then. And that's how much memory our 7206 router had. So it was like, well, okay, we can't even do BGP if we wanted to. But otherwise, I did a little bit of BGP then, but beyond that, because it's an ISP thing, right? Mm-hmm. I understand how BGP works. I understand, it's the routing between autonomous systems on the internet. But what could I possibly do if I was a business if BGP gets mucked up like this?
There's really not much.
Yeah, I wonder how. So I wonder when Google, I wonder who, because there wasn't any information in the article, at least I didn't see it, on who responded to it and who fixed it.
Yeah, I think there was a link in the Sophos one to an Ars Technica, and it had a little bit more. That's a much more techie link, but it's got a bunch of graphs, and it actually shows. It actually shows like the routing happening.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't remember.
Because it was between the BGP peering relationship between Main One Cable, that's the Nigerian ISP, and their parent, ISP China Telecom.
Right. Yeah, it says in there that Main One said that the advertisement was an administrative error. So it sounds like Google probably reached out to them pretty quickly.
Yeah. What if ISP China Telecom was like, so? I guess you could black hole routes or something. I don't know how I guess I don't know enough about BGP anymore to know how. Like, what if ISP China Telecom was like, yeah, screw you, Google, we don't like you.
Yeah, I think yeah, that would be interesting. I don't know how that would play out.
It'd be a fight out of a whole different.
I guess they could just basically blacklist that offending ISP and just not listen to its
advertisements. Yeah,
I don't know.
It would take some serious. There'd be some serious routing changes.
Yeah.
Portions of the internet would be inaccessible for a while. Interesting.
Yeah. I don't know enough about it to really go into it. I just thought it was interesting that a simple mistake like that could take it, cause that much problems.
Right. And this is it is super interesting in my mind too, because even if you don't know BGP very well, you're talking Google.
Mm-hmm.
One of, if not the most powerful company on the planet.
They're still completely reliant on a Nigerian ISP configuring their BGP tables correctly.
Right. And they're down for 74 minutes, basically. That's pretty impressive. I mean, I guess it shows you how, the internet is so resilient, but it's actually kind of fragile too, right?
Yeah. It doesn't, well, I mean, I know even from an internal networking perspective, it just takes one typo to just, muck everything up. It's the same thing. It's funny. You just type it's like Office Space, always put the dot in the wrong spot. Something like that. Yeah. It doesn't take much.
Well, we're all prone to it.
So
we're all humans.
Anyway.
It's just weird though, because, we are all humans. We all do make mistakes occasionally, but the fact that this is a Nigerian ISP and a Chinese ISP, it seems a little.
Well, that's one of the threat post really went. The threat post article went into that a little bit more of, well, what does this mean? But the Sophos one had a really nice point. They said, was it a mistake or was it some sort of conspiracy? Nigeria is popularly connected with online fraud, and China is frequently accused of internet espionage. So, put it together and it's like, oh, sure, that was totally a mistake, right? But the flip side of that is, if this was a deliberate hijack, it says it was spectacularly ineffective and obvious, and that it didn't work because they noticed really quickly and got it fixed. So,
right, but the way the Russians work, from what I've seen, is they do these little probing type attacks.
Yeah.
They're more POCs, they're proof of concepts, than they are an actual the actual attack.
So I think that's that next step is, does it happen again?
Right. Well,
What can they put in place to prevent it, if anything?
Yeah, I mean, if there was any malice behind it, at least they know it works. That this particular thing works for this long or whatever. That I don't know. I guess I'm skeptical of. I'm just not as trusting anymore as I used to be, maybe, of other players.
Yeah. And we just don't know enough about everything to.
Super interesting, man. I think you chose an awesome article.
That's one you can definitely go down the rabbit hole on.
Right. Yeah. So this was on threatpost.com, and it was on, like you said, nakedsecurity.sophos.com. This happened back, second week in November. So just recently, actually last week.
Mm-hmm.
We're Google and Cloudflare. So two different companies, obviously, but they were both offline.
Yeah.
Cool.
The best. All right. So now this next story, I just shook my head and just like the face palm. So
what do the kids now say? They say SMH, shake my head.
Yeah.
So you're SMHing right now.
I am.
Okay.
So is it Pathé, the new group out of the Netherlands, was ripped off by con men for $21 million. It all came from a email that said, hey, send this money for this acquisition. And they made 4 payments in March of this year. First one was $930,000. Second one was for almost 2.8 million. And then again, the third and fourth ones, I didn't see the exact amounts, but $21 million in a month gone.
So the attackers sent an email posing as
the higher up. Hey, I need you to send this money to this account for this acquisition.
Oh my God. And all it took was an email to send $21 million.
Yeah. Well, even if it's the first one, like it was the first transfer was for, $930,000. How do you not question that much money being requested to be sent on an email? But I mean, it's the same attack we see
totally
all the time.
This is totally an SMH, man. I'm SMHing myself now.
Yeah. So they finally got the final email from the fake company boss to repay the cash. But then, March 8th was the first attack. March 28th, questions began coming in from the headquarters out of Paris as to what is going on. So
March 8th, say that again. March 8th, the emails went out, and then when did they get the
emails came in March 8th. They made the first payment that day. So the first payment was March 8th. They made 3 more payments and before it was caught on the 28th of March. So in 3 weeks,
20 days.
Yeah.
Before there's any red flags, like, oh, there's millions of dollars going out the door. Should we check on this? Yeah, let's just find out what's going on.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So we have such a lack of financial controls, or a lack of a lot of things.
So the interesting part on this one, I mean, that's we see that all the time, right? That attack isn't surprising, but they were both fired, and then one of them sued to get his job back or get paid. And the court decided that, even though he'd been lured by con men, he should not have been fired on the spot, even though he ignored several red flags. So he's getting his back pay for, 8 months or 7 months. But even the court didn't acknowledge you missed a bunch of red flags. That's
right, and you're right. We do see this attack all the time. I mean, I get attacked all the time with this.
Yeah,
they've sent emails to Peter. They've sent emails to Caitlin, posing as me. They've sent emails to 2 or 3 other people at FRSecure saying, hey, I need you to go out and get gift cards, or I need, whatever.
Yeah.
And one time, Peter actually replied back and said, where do you want me to send these? To the attacker. I mean, I don't send those emails, right?
Right. Yeah, he came and talked to me about that one. He's like, oh, I almost got it.
Oh my gosh. It's like,
I was just going on mile a minute. And then I was like, oh, wait, that's not right. Hold on. So, yeah, it's easy to happen. Luckily, nothing happened out of that one. But
well, and yeah, Caitlin, there's
it's
even in our own organization. So, but the thing that makes this one so sensational is all it took was an email.
Uh-huh.
And they processed that payment on that first email the same day without any red flags. I mean, that attacker got, just imagine that. I'm going to get paid $800,000, $900,000 by just sending an email.
Yeah.
And then you get the payment. I mean, it's just crazy. That, I don't know. It's just such easy money for the attackers. It's affluent.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
And who would think that? I mean, I can't imagine. I mean, I don't know this Dutch company, obviously, but what sort of culture in a company, I don't know, would just, I mean, I don't know. And I think that's one of the differences between maybe us, security people, and I call them normal people.
Right.
To normal people that's just, and it's not, normal people are bad, but it's just, they think different.
Right. Yeah. And that's definitely not a put down by any means or a slight by any means. It's a very different way of thinking of things that we have. We're not normal.
Well, we obviously have not gotten, we haven't translated our language well, and we haven't gotten through to some of these people, or most, or some, whatever.
I think the biggest challenge, it's just the numbers. It's a numbers game. There's just not a way. It's not being effectively done.
Was there any mention that they caught the bad guys in this?
No.
Yeah.
No.
So the chief executive and the chief financial officer, or finance guy, were both fired.
Yep. And let's see. I'm trying to find where it was. Chief exec. I'm trying to find where they were. The finance chief is who sued, which is how we know about all the details.
Okay, yeah, because then it becomes public, right? Because it goes into the court documents.
Right. So.
Otherwise, we wouldn't have known about it at all.
No, not at all.
So that's why it happened on March 8th. And we didn't find out about it until November.
Yep. Yeah, that's a lot of money for such I don't want to say an easy, scam, but it's a relatively common one we see.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Well, the one that, I use as an example, obviously I can't say the company, but it was, compromise an email account for somebody in accounting. It turns out it was somebody in accounts payable, and the attacker obviously was probing for a while before they found the accounts payable person. Once they had the accounts payable person, single factor authentication on Outlook Web Access, right? That's single factor authentication. You can tie most of these attacks back to things like that.
Right.
Because now I've got a foothold in your system, and so I can send an email as that person, set up email rules so that when you reply back, the real user of that account never sees the emails that you replied back on. Because the attacker doesn't want the person who uses the email account to know that.
No.
You know what I mean?
First step is cover your tracks.
Yeah. So, it's just so common. And it's a bummer because people, this stuff really me, it ticks me off.
Yep.
Oh, that's money that this organization can't use for expansion, their employees, innovation, whatever. And this is money now that the attackers can use to make their attacks better.
Right.
Which, pisses me off.
Yeah, that one definitely funded quite a bit of additional attacks, is my guess.
You chose a good one, man. That's a good one.
Crazy.
Where was that story? That was Dutch News.
Oh, Dutch News had the details on that. I don't remember where I saw it originally. But yeah, that's where that had the best details on that one.
Pathe, like you said, P-A-T-H-E. What do they call that on top of the
accent? I don't know, the little slashy thing.
See, we're security guys, not English.
I don't know.
Pathe Cinema Group.
This is why I have somebody else proofread.
Right? You should see the first version of the manuscript of my book and be like, what the hell is he saying? Nobody gets it until you have an editor.
Yep. All right. Next one, I think this one will be fairly quick hitter, but it was interesting. This was on the Naked Security site for Sophos as well. Botnet pawned 100,000 routers using what they called an ancient security flaw. And I was like, what? I looked at it, and it was indeed, I would consider ancient. It was a security flaw affecting Broadcom router software, first made public in February of 2013. So the botnet covers 116 different devices, D-Link, Cisco Linksys or Belkin, TP-Link, Zixel, and Broadcom. And they said up to 400,000 routers are susceptible to this, and it's using the universal plug-and-play, the UPnP.
Gosh, I missed this one too. Wow.
So I think the moral of this one is disable things you don't need. But it was crazy because I was looking through it, and it's like, how could there possibly be the security flaw that was made public, 5.5 years ago, and Broadcom patched it fairly quickly, and it looks like nobody else actually put the patch in. So there was a patch out there that nobody actually did.
Right.
Or the owners aren't doing it because it's, homes or small businesses that just never do that type of thing and just let it run. And, the only time it reboots or it has anything happen is if it quits working and they unplug it and plug it back in. Mm-hmm. But yeah, they're saying it scans for UPnP on TCP port 5431 and then UDP port 1900 used by Broadcom, and it's using it to proxy traffic. So it's basically a spam botnet that's infected 100,000 routers.
Yeah, there's a lot of troubling things about this.
Yeah.
When we're starting to see attackers increase the sophistication of their attacks on home users.
Well, I think this really plays into why I don't have a lot of IoT things. Mm-hmm. For this reason. I don't need my refrigerator on the internet. And
come on,
do they have any sort of patch in place? Do they have any sort of, how are they going to push updates down? You don't see it. They don't have that because it's, just first to market. We'll figure that out later. And then you get this.
That's totally true, man. And it's like, I get asked all the time, and like you do too, I'm sure, from friends and things. Hey, what are some things I can do to protect myself? Or what are the top 5 things? Or what's the best thing I can do? And it's like, people really need to realize that the more things you add, the more complex mm-hmm. things get, mm-hmm. the more things you need to do to secure yourself.
Well,
if you didn't have a smartphone, if you didn't have a laptop, if you didn't have home network, if you didn't have all these things, imagine how much easier it would be to secure your home than with all that stuff.
Right.
But you just keep adding stuff. It's like, security is an afterthought.
Yeah. Well, and to some extent, there is that risk assessment that, decision that needs to be done. I have on my front door a a lock that's got Bluetooth and it's Bluetooth enabled, so I can manage it and give out like a code to my daughters. It's got, the pin that they could punch in their codes, or if we needed somebody to, watch the dog or something, we can give them a temporary one. And I was like, when I was looking at getting it, I was like, gosh, what is this opening me up to? Well, it's not to the internet. It's just a Bluetooth. Yeah. And so they would have to be, if I was going to get hacked, it would have to be here on site or here. And quite frankly, if they're hacking my Bluetooth front door lock and not smashing the window, I got bigger problems.
Right.
So that was kind of the benefit there was worth it. But yeah, overall, I just don't see the benefit a lot of times.
Well, but you do it the way we're trying to teach everybody to do it. You consider the risks first.
Right.
Right. I'm not saying it's not a good idea to get, Alexa and, other IoT, baby monitors and things like that. But understand, each thing that you add into your home, understand the risks that come with it and then account for those things.
Right.
Right. If you're going to hook your home up to the internet, you're basically inviting the world to connect to your home.
Mm-hmm.
You have to check your router on a regular basis for patches.
Yep.
And you have to stay, sort of up to date on the news about things like this, so that you can do something about it.
Right.
Rather than just being another, a sheep.
Yeah. And, well, and it doesn't help when the vendors aren't putting in patches either. Right. So.
Yeah. I mean, if I had one of these devices, which I don't, thank God, but if I did, and the vendor doesn't provide a patch, well, then get a different vendor.
Right.
Don't buy crap.
Yeah, but you look at those names. I mean, those are pretty much the names for, for
D-Link,
that.
D-Link, Linksys, you bet.
TP-Link, yeah, and Broadcom. So anyway, yeah, patch your stuff. Turn off the services you don't need.
Right, because also in that last year we had what the heck is it? It's in that same. Last year we had the VPN filter botnet.
Yep.
Which was traced back to a Russian group, I think. Or no,
yep.
another attack was the Russian group called.
Yeah, that was the
Steep.
Yep.
Yeah, so these things are being targeted. You have to be careful.
It's crazy. Oh boy! All right. So the last story. This one really had me with SMHing. I guess. Is that the right?
That's what we're going with now. I'm SMHing.
We're so not young.
That's
so
true.
This one is off of Infosecurity magazine. It's employees' poor security habits getting worse. Survey finds. This is from last week. And SailPoint did some research. They quizzed 1,600 global employees. So, I obviously don't have access to the actual survey to figure out, what the breakdown was in terms of age and all that and where they're working, but it's still pretty disheartening to see this. So 1,600 employees, 75% reuse passwords across both personal and professional accounts, which is up from 56% in 2014. So it's getting worse by a lot that they're using it across. And that's after we keep seeing all these, stories come out that say, yep, here they were able to get into your Gmail account because of the LinkedIn or whatever breach that you use the same password across all of them for. It's
right.
Just crazy that would be the case.
And how many millions of dollars are spent on training and awareness and all these things. And and like you said, this is one study and it's 1,600 employees out of, millions that are actually employed.
Yep.
But if we're to assume that this stuff is true or accurate, we got to really be rethinking about what we're doing, right?
Yeah. And I think this next part was really what is going to be the driver and is really the scary part. They said 18 to 25-year-olds who admitted reusing passwords was 87%. So you've got young people coming in that have used the same password across the board forever. And my guess is that's probably where the majority of that jump comes from is people coming in, which ties back to what are you training on from a security perspective with new hires? Because that should catch those types of things.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, there's just so much in this. 23% of those polled said they only change their work passwords 2 times a year or fewer. 15% would consider selling their workplace passwords to a third party.
God.
What?
What are we doing?
Now this one, you came from IT as well. They said half of the respondents said IT is a source of inconvenience, and 13% would not immediately inform IT if they'd been hacked. So I think that's a failure on IT and security,
right,
more than on the employees, which was kind of eye-opening.
Well, I think two things for me, about this. I do question the findings a little bit because they're so counter to what I see. I mean, we still have a long ways to go, but I don't think we've gone backwards like this study suggests.
Yeah. And without seeing the demographics, right, it really does make it, we can only go with what information we see in that story.
Right, because you get so many news things from everywhere anyway, and I think it's just healthy to be skeptical about some of this stuff. Mm-hmm. So one, I'm skeptical, but I'm not discounting it at all. A little bit, just, I'm skeptical. But I think the takeaway for me really is never lose focus of trying to communicate, well with your employees and try to get them to be a fan of yours. This old school sanction-based mandatory training, that kind of crap doesn't work.
Right.
What works is collaboration, working together, personalizing this, all gamification, giving awards, and rewards for good behaviors. That's the stuff that seems to work because that's what motivates people.
Yeah. And I fully agree with you. And I think that, I wonder what the company size was, because our primary market is that small to mid-size, not the enterprise. Mm-hmm. We can work in there, but typically those smaller mid-sized companies are a lot more, at least in my experience, there's less red tape a lot of times. We'll put it that way. So they're a little bit more willing to change and go towards that approach versus, the very rigid, all the politics involved, and this is the way we've done it. We've always done it this way. We're going to continue doing it this way that you might see in some of the larger organizations.
Yeah. Yeah. I think security personnel are more accessible and approachable in small to medium sized companies than they are in large companies. Well, in large companies, I think a lot of CISOs I've seen and talked to are overworked. I think there's a lot of CISOs in those bigger companies who are not approachable at all for whatever reason.
Yeah. Oh, and there's also a lot out there that very much had that, militaristic approach to it of just, nope, we're not doing it. No questions asked. I said, no, you're not, I know we've both worked with those type of people in the past.
Yeah. And nobody wants to work with those people.
Right. So, I would say grain of salt, but I out of these statistics, the 75% reusing, the 87% using across the board for 18-20, those really I was like, wow, that's absurd. But then the ones that didn't surprise me was IT being at half of people saying IT, and I'm assuming IT and information security are being tied together here, given what they're using, the verbiage. But a source of inconvenience and 13% not immediately informing it if they'd been hacked. That honestly doesn't surprise me.
No, that's true. That part doesn't either.
So I think I'm going to go back to, that's a failure on our behalf, because we shouldn't be, when we do just social engineering, we never, we make it very clear to the company, this is not a sanctioned thing. If they get caught, if it happens, it's going to happen to someone. We're not going to get stopped, right? I mean, it sounds a little bit arrogant, but we've talked about enough scams and phishing emails, and there's enough stories, it's happening. It has to be a learning opportunity. You can't use this to punish someone. And I think there's still a lot of that thinking out there.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, stats like this, in my mind, aren't a condemnation of users. It's a condemnation of us.
Yep.
We're obviously sucking. I mean, if this is true, like I said, I'm skeptical that it's this bad, but if it is, we just really suck at our jobs. We got to do a lot better. We're not.
Got a lot of work ahead of us.
Nobody's listening. Right.
Yep. Well, and again, global. So where are they out of? What, there's just so many unknowns out of this, but it was.
So for people, listeners, this is on InfoSecurity or information, infosecurity-magazine.com. And this is a study from SailPoint, right? One word. Yep. If they want to do more research on it, which I probably will now too, because
I did some high level digging, and I didn't see a whole lot, but I got busy because you guys all took off on Friday.
I know, right? We're not good at that.
No, no, it was, I thought that was interesting though. I mean, that's definitely one maybe we can come back and revisit.
For sure. That's a good one. All right. So next week I'm putting together, great job, man. This is really fun because I just feel like we're kind of in this together, and I really enjoy our hour or so together, every Sunday. It's fun.
It's nice to be a little bit more, laid back and just talk security about it instead of day-to-day issues.
Right. I mean, I don't actually have to write a report after this.
Right.
That's awesome.
No slides involved.
Nope. So we got next week. You'll be driving, so hopefully, you can still do 5:30, but we'll do another call. I'll put together the content. Don't worry about it. I'm not calling a guest next week. I don't think, but I'm not going to tell you because this is competitive now.
All right.
Well, have a great rest of the night, man.
Thanks. You too.
All right.
All right.
Bye.